Sweet.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure that it's working here on YouTube.
The tube of the U.
Yes, and we are live. All right. Good afternoon, magical people. We have our lovely guests here today to speak with you. And I can see that our chat is pretty active already. So we've already got people asking questions and being very excited. So if you do have a question, it's easier for me to see in the chat if you type in question in all caps at the beginning of your comment. And because it's a quite a lively chat, so I don't want to miss anybody's questions.
That's most.
Emily, do these people even know who they are? Are
These
you sure they didn't just stumble? Who are we?
I don't
No,
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. I don't know. Okay, so
Who are
I'm
you?
gonna
You're our moderator. Introduce yourself.
I am the moderator. My name is Emily, and I am the founder and head organizer of Pretty Heroes, which is an annual convention in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we are coming to you online, and we are connecting from multiple points in the world right now.
It's true.
And we have a variety of lovely people here from the Viz Media dub of Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon Crystal. I think we lost Sandy. What happened to
We
Sandy?
did. We lost
Oh
Sandy.
no, she's got to
Thought
come
she was
back
back.
in.
Okay.
Well,
Come back.
hopefully she'll make her way back in.
Oh,
But we've
Sandy.
got Lauren Landa, who was the voice of Sailor Neptune. We have
Hello.
we have Robbie Daymond, who is the voice of Tuxedo Mask, everyone's original husbando. And we have Cherami, who is the voice of Sailor Venus. And we have Amanda, who is the voice of Sailor Jupiter. And Sandy will come back, and she's the voice of Chibiusa. So,
She'll be back. I'm just gonna.
I'm pretty sure she's going to come back. She was here, so it's probably a connection issue, and she'll pop right back in, and then you guys will see her come up again.
Oh no.
So,
Yay.
Some of us were supposed to be up there with you in the great frozen north this year, right?
yes,
And this is our
yes.
substitute.
Well,
And we
it's
threw.
not that frozen right now.
Listen,
Uh,
I heard it's terrible up there. Frozen. We've got
so
frost-covered beavers that
I am
attack you
in.
on the sidewalk.
Oh, for Sandy, she says it has frozen.
Uh-oh.
Just tell her to restart. Tell her to unplug it and
Yes.
plug it back in again.
And then join the meeting again.
Oh no. Oh no. Now they're seeing my whole thing. Oh no. Go back to the call. I don't want it to do that.
Oh no.
Here is where you are right now.
Technological. You don't need to see my whole
Oh, no.
contact list.
Hide it all.
Oh.
That's
I
okay.
would love to go to the frozen tundra of
So
Toronto
I will
right now.
text Sandy and just tell her to restart.
Man, this is perfect. This is just how things should go in 2020, right? Let's battle technology
That's a
for at least
mood.
5 minutes before the panel. Let's do it.
That's the way it always
Man.
is.
We'll get
Oh,
Sandy
well,
back.
it's
How's everybody
okay.
been? I miss you guys. You
I
guys
miss
look
you.
You
you guys
too,
look
Robbie.
great.
Yeah.
What's it
How
like
are
living
you
in a
all
blurred house?
coping?
Everyone
Blurred?
Jeremy's house is a blurred house. Lauren's house is a blurred house. Where do I buy one? Can I buy a blurred condo in LA?
It just feels like the whole world is a blur right now. So why not match the theme? You know,
That sounds
Yeah.
fun.
why not?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's blurred.
But
Well, it's a background effect in Skype, so.
I love Cherami's background because she has her Christmas tree.
Yeah, usually my Christmas decorations do
Oh,
not
there's
go
Sandy.
up this
She's
early,
come
but
back.
It's a sad day. I'm trying to
And
make
speaking of Christmas,
Yeah.
look what showed up to us.
It's
Wrapped in a beautiful
Sandy.
pack.
Yay!
the Christmas miracle. What happened?
We just
We
introduced
don't
everyone.
know.
You didn't miss anything at all. We
Yeah,
just
it's
introduced
okay.
everyone.
Well, we love
Oh,
you. We
technical
love your
issues
moon background,
happen.
Sandy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
me.
All right. So I wanted to start off the questions with just give us a little bit of a background of how you got your role in Sailor Moon. What was the audition process like for that? Anyone can start.
Alphabetical. Amanda Miller. Go.
Oh, Robbie, call the shot.
Don't make me steer the ship. You won't like where it goes.
For me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, there was like a Hunger Games style battle for it. A lot of people had to die. I know Robbie was there, but like they were allowed to have a male and a female winner, so
Sure.
we were the winners of respective genders. But yeah, there's a lot of blood on my hands.
So were you the tribute, Amanda? Were you the female tribute? Is that how it worked?
Really,
Or
yeah, I wasn't
volunteered on my
in the
behalf.
Hunger Games without being a tribute.
that's fair. It's
I'm not
fair.
that benevolent.
I think you just took the lore too far for Amanda's joke, Lauren. She was like, "Oh no, I can't follow up. I don't know the lore."
Yeah,
Which district was this?
In my closet, I got the audition from Studiopolis, and I don't know if for everybody else was it the same where it said like top secret project, we can't tell you what it is, and then all the sides were the character names, and they didn't try to hide it or anything. Attacks were the exact attacks. Like I thought it was code for another thing. Like I thought they were using Sailor Moon as like a cover for what the actual project was, but no.
No, just straight up Sailor Moon. I didn't know until day one that I walked in what it actually was. I didn't know. I thought it was Crystal the whole time. I thought it was a reboot the whole time.
Oh,
Same thing. It was my first ever anime audition. I asked one of the owners of a studio, and you just said Studiopolis, so whatever. I asked him to send me auditions, and he did. And I said, "Cool, anime." And then they said, "You're the guy." And I said, "Thanks, man. This is gonna be sweet. Welcome to anime."
Have you been practicing the rose throwing? Like, was that a requirement?
I had a competition with the Japanese voice actor, the older gentleman, Toriu, I think, and I threw it. I let him win. Don't tell anyone.
That was
Gotta let him
We won't tell anybody, and I'm sure the viewers will not tell anybody. Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
I-
This is totally not a public
My audition,
YouTube stream
I
at all.
sent it in, like,
Never
I was
find this.
Getting on a plane to go to Dallas for my wedding, and I was like, oh gosh, because I have this habit, the dream of being in whatever project is alive until I audition. So I wait till the last minute, and then I have to actually audition. So I auditioned in a car, and it sounded terrible on my phone. And they said, we have a callback for you, but if you could do us a favor and not record on the potato, this was the direct quote that you recorded on previously. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do the callback, but I'm in Texas right now because I'm getting married. And they're like, that's fine. Just find a studio to record it at. Just don't tell them what it is. Which, as Amanda said, the call-outs were the same, the sides were the same. So I went into
It's totally not obvious at all.
and I said, I need
Hey,
to
y'all
record this
doing Sailor
audition.
Moon in there?
That's
That's exactly
right.
what
I
it was.
said, I'm an engineer for another session. Can you record this quick audition for me? It's going to sound like Sailor Moon, but it's definitely not Sailor Moon. It is not at all. And so he was a lovely gentleman. He recorded the audition for me, and he goes, when you get cast in Sailor Moon, I want a cookie. And I was like, it's not Sailor Moon.
But it is Sailor Moon.
Yeah. But when I got cast, he was like, I thought you said it wasn't Sailor Moon. So I gave him a cookie and all.
Oh, you gave him the cookie.
Oh.
At least you both got something out of that, you know. So, I actually did not get the top secret email. I just got a, hey Lauren, we'd love for you to read for Sailor Neptune, Sailor Uranus, and Sailor Saturn. And that was it for me. I just about died when I got the audition because I grew up with Sailor Moon. You know, Sailor Moon was the first anime that I ever watched. That's what introduced me to anime. So it was pretty special. But my favorite is Cherami's husband was such oh, I love him so much. He really just wanted to support Cherami so much. He was so excited for her, but they could not talk about it. They could not say who they played. And so I think like days beforehand, Cherami, I think, wasn't he like saying, you know, my wife plays, you know, but he wasn't actually saying it or something like that. I don't know.
It was outside Anime Expo the day of the announcement, and we're walking up to the building, and he's screaming it. And when I'm in a bright orange dress, I'm like, bro, shut it down. Lose me this job, and I'm going to be really upset with you. So he was actually wearing green. He was on Team Jupiter. on the day that they announced. Yeah, he didn't have an orange shirt, and he didn't think he needed to wear one anyway. So
I'm Sailor Steel, Millennium.
I got the top secret email, but I think it was like 6 months or maybe even longer after everyone was cast in the main cast. And I had to read for both Chibimoon and Black Lady. So my first feedback after I sent the audition in, the first thing was, your Black Lady is way too evil. And I'm like, yes! Being a person that has played cute characters my whole life, I was like, yes, I am too evil and dark. And I adjusted, and I, like Robbie, I really didn't even know what I was into until my first session. And then actually that first Anime Expo Sailor Moon Day that I did, that how incredible this franchise is. Like the magnitude of it.
True.
Yeah, it's like one big happy family.
What are you talking about? I hate everyone in this chat right now.
No! This is public information now.
You're right. You teed that one up for me. I'm sorry.
Note to self for next year.
Nervous about how the Canadian dub cast was going to respond, because they were there, and that was the dub that I watched, and so I was very nervous how it was going to be received. And they were so lovely and so wonderful, and they still are. I mean, they've, like you said, it's one big happy family. They have welcomed us and adopted us, and it's been absolutely lovely, the reception that they've given us.
We love each other.
What if it hadn't have been, though? What if we showed up, we're like, hey, what are you doing here? And they're like snapping their fingers.
So then you have the the showdown to see who's actually going to be in it.
Peaceful nation. They never get involved in.
I was a little nervous about meeting Barbara, but she is such a doll. She is so sweet, and she is so gentle, and just everybody, Toby, Vincent, like everyone is just wonderful. And I was very grateful, because for one, that's who I was listening to growing up. So when I got to meet them, I was like, oh, okay, well, hopefully they don't hate me, and they didn't. We all just love the show, and we all love being a part of it. And the panels are so much fun whenever we get to kind of mix and match a little bit. So
yeah, and it's funny, Reno went down. He left after the first season, Reno Romano, and he came down to LA. He's one of those Canadian transplants, and he's actually at the same agency as I am. So last year we were at one of the agency parties at Comic-Con, and I was like, is that Reno? And he looked over at me, he's like, are you Robbie? And I was like, Reno! So like, that's the first time we ever met, and we talked and we joked a lot, because like he went on from Tux, and then like 2 years later did Spider-Man, and that's kind of what I did. So like there are a bunch of like little trivia things like that. And I don't know if you know much about his career, but he's basically like the promo guy. Like he became like I think he's like the voice of NBC or something. I could be talking out of turn or whatever. Like
and
he's
Curious
huge.
George, right? He's the
What?
voice.
Yes, and Curious George, yeah. And then every time I go to a holiday party now, I'm like, Reno! And he's like, Robbie, hey! We have like this weird connection. He's a great guy. Wears a lot of scarves, but great guy.
Don't hold that against Susan's incredible. She's my counterpart in the original one, and when I first met her, like her and Linda Valentine and Katie and Toby, we all like went out for drinks the first con I was at with them, and it was so cool. And Linda gave me Susan gave me some saucy dating advice, which
that's not what I would expect from Susan.
Like, and I wouldn't have expected it out of her. I was like, Susan. But then, was it Barbara is like an author?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
She who played Sailor Venus in the original is like a TV producer. Like they're all so smart and accomplished and just generous people. So yeah.
And they're all big jokers, just like you guys.
But I do want it to be said that in 10 or 15 years when we get replaced, I do not plan on returning the favor. I am going to murder my replacement of
You're gonna
Tuxedo
be
Mask, where they have,
super
yeah,
aggressive.
We
yep.
will be
He's
prepared.
gonna send
We
some
will
And
be
I'm gonna,
poisoned
Make
roses.
Canada's Hunger Games joke real.
yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna bury his body in the frozen tundra of Canada. That's a promise.
Oh no.
That's a promise. I'll sue you on Forensic Files in 20 years.
Yeah. And then they're gonna
I
use
want
this
you
video as
narrating
evidence
that
in the court
that
case.
Dateline episode, the documentary of like voice actors gone wrong. I'm
Do
gonna
it.
be the narrator for
What a
that.
great foot in the door. What a great foot in the door.
Oh
Thank
no.
you
I
so
knew it.
much, Robbie, for opening that doorway for me.
That's where you'll be discovered.
So what was it intimidating for any of you? You know, because you knew that there was already this fandom that had already been building for some time, and you know a lot of people were familiar with the previous cast, even though a couple of the some of the roles had changed a few times. Was that intimidating to be coming into that role, and you know like how did that feel for you to be taking on this role that already had this kind of setup?
What was the show where we were like seated right next to the what was that? Was
That
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 the
was the
Expo.
very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was I liked it. They were all so kind, but it was a little strange.
Yeah.
If are we being honest? Are we being candid? I don't know. What kind of
It's
interview
up
is
to
this?
you.
Yeah, I wasn't uncomfortable, but I was like, oh, this is a choice. Like I get it's like a changing of the guard, but I've never seen it happen in real life in real
Yeah.
time. It was a
Yeah.
little bizarre, but what the rest of the cast was saying is they were so kind and so gracious that it made it easy. And then by the end of the day, everybody was
I
real
was
chummy.
I was uncomfortable with it because I didn't know until later that they weren't told they were being
Mhm.
like there was a new guard. So they were very
Oh,
that shows
Yeah.
how new they
That
are.
that I think was kind of weird that they just didn't tell them. I was like,
Yeah.
does it
So
need to be a
Yeah.
secret though from them?
they let them come on stage and they like, hey, we want to give a shout out, and then they didn't tell them like you're basically saying goodbye, and then
right.
seeing them behind us, like it felt kind of weird. But like, so I talked to them about that. I was like, I'm so sorry that was so awkward, and thank you guys for being so gracious. And they were like, yeah, well,
But are you surprised though? Like haven't there been times where you've literally not known you've been replaced until the thing comes out?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not it's not like Hollywood is openly forthright about, casting changes
Yeah.
and stuff a lot of the
And
times.
True.
just for our viewers, it's whoever gets the distribution rights, right?
Mhm.
Right.
So like you'll do a show and then somebody in Texas or Canada or whatever will get another production company will get the distribution, and yeah, the show's somewhere else and they recast it, and you like
Sometimes
Abby
now,
said,
sometimes
you
they
find
use the same cast and sometimes they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
It really varies on each project, so nothing is always set in stone.
yeah.
So I think when a lot of people say to us, "Oh, if this show comes back, do you want to play this character? Are you going to play this character?" And it's like, "Well, of course we'd love to play the character, but I think we all, for the most part, I think we all pretty much kind of play it safe and not say, "Oh yeah, for sure I'm going to voice this character if it comes back," because anything can happen. Anything can happen with a show or a video game or whichever. So,
And we're
I think
literally the last to know. I find
Yeah.
out that I can
Yeah.
talk about something when people are messaging me on Twitter saying, "Hey, is this you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I got in the game.
Yeah.
I guess they finally went with my
And
version."
And you never own a role either. Yeah,
Exactly.
like I think that's a bad
Right.
mind frame to be in. Yeah, you have a tenure as a character.
Yeah.
Like and you might do that character for 5 years or 10 years. But then eventually there will be a recast at some point when they do a reboot. Like forever for me for like Resident Evil was always, Roger Craig Smith was Chris for me. And then the last one they changed it. And it's like, well, it has been 20 years and I'd love to hear Roger do it again, but like I don't think Roger's sitting around going, "Gosh, darn it, I wish I was Chris again." Like maybe he is, but I highly doubt it. So,
Right.
it's one of those I just picked him out of a hat because I know he's a super confident guy that like, I imagine it not bothering someone like that.
it's a good
So,
example though. So
yeah.
There is a lot of pressure though. I know when I went into the studio for the first time, I didn't know who I got cast as or what I was going to be doing. I could have been like a random girl with hair bow, and I would have been elated. But then I got to be the girl with the hair bow, which was very exciting. But there was a lot of pressure because we watched this show. It's an iconic series. It means so much to so many people. And I feel like there's a responsibility when you're given the opportunity to play that character with any character that you're entrusted with. But when there is such a reverence to the show for so many people, obviously the pressure is greater. And then we had the added pressure of so many of the original cast that we grew up watching that dub, sitting at the table with us and feeling a responsibility to honor the legacy that they created.
Right.
And yeah, it was a lot. You never know how the fans will respond. And of course, everybody wants people to say, you did a great job. And you want people to be happy, but the original dub means so much to people. It means so much to us. It was our childhood, and we have memories with it. So, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. And I do remember Toby turned around and grabbed my hands and was like, "Venus, this is a big job for you," and gave me this public speech. And it was so sweet and
Oh, my
so
heart.
gracious, and it like brought tears to my eyes because, like Amanda and Robbie said, it was such an awkward panel. We had been told like, you can't talk about this. We didn't know what was going to happen, and then we see that they're there, and then we find out they didn't know, and they made such a big deal for us of like, this is such a great thing for them. We want to make sure that they know that they're welcomed, and I think they went more than above and beyond, and I will forever be grateful to them for how they handled it, because it was such an awkward situation for them to be in, and they were lovely.
I was not there at that expo because that was when you guys were just announced. So I was not a part of that awkward situation, but the pressure that I kind of personally felt was voicing a character that is very, known as a as a member of the LGBTQ community, when originally they were not broadcasted as such for the original English dub. And that was something that, when I say pressure, it wasn't a bad pressure. I was happy, very happy that we were going to give the relationship the actual legitimacy that it deserved, but there was a part of me that basically said, don't screw this up, Lauren, like, all that, because it was also one of my favorite characters when I was watching Sailor Moon. Both she and Uranus were my favorite characters. So it was that on top of, I know that so many people love all of these characters, and we just want to make sure that the fans love them as much as we do. And I want to do the character justice. And, so it was, yes, there was a little bit of pressure there. And I'm very happy that a lot of people were happy with it. So, because I felt very privileged to do that. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I wasn't at that original panel with the other cast, although I've met them at your con, Emily, which was so beautiful. But and I'm older than the rest of the cast members, so I didn't grow up with Sailor Moon, and I didn't even watch it before I auditioned or anything. I'd only seen Sailor Moon characters at cons and things like that. That was like my introduction. But I did feel the pressure that this is a legacy character, just like a Star Wars character or a Disney character, that an anime Chibimoon is a legacy character. So I did feel the pressure to do her justice and, really breathe life into her that the fans would, appreciate. And so, yeah, I felt that pressure too.
Okay. All right. So I see a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to start with some of those. So from Dan, the question is, what is or are your favorite roles that you have played? So it doesn't have to be in Sailor Moon. It can be in anything in your career.
Anything.
Silence.
And you're like, oh, all of them.
No one has any favorites.
You don't have a favorite?
I know for me, of course, Betty Boop. I mean, anytime I would get the call to voice Betty Boop, I got so excited. I have a long history of Betty Boop things in my life, events in my life, all the way back to I was 17 and started singing in a 1920s jazz orchestra. All the songs of Betty Boop
Ooh.
and all the women that voiced Betty Boop at that time were pop singers. So Betty Boop, Chobits, I love Sumomo and Chobits. I had so much fun with that character. And of course, I just love being a part of Sailor Moon.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. So good.
No, no.
Sarah has a special place in my heart because I grew up watching, like she was my favorite character watching the dub growing up. So like this is, being every time I get to go in the studio for her, it's still very surreal. Like what was it, 6 years ago now we got the roles, and it's still when people like have us come to panels and sign stuff for Sailor Moon, I'm just like, wait, am I like a coma patient in like a long running TV series or something? I'm gonna wake up all of a dream. So that was a very elaborate fantasy. So Sailor Jupiter, Boruto is my boy because he's my first like series lead, and it's cool to be able to kind of take a character and go through all the different journeys that they go on and get to see like how do they laugh, how do they sound when they are lying. Like you get to kind of deal with the nuance of characters more. I keep disappearing. And then
Just your shoulder. It's great.
The-
One shoulder keeps
Don't
disappearing.
disappear,
Pretty
Amanda.
cool.
Just stop moving, and you'll be fine.
It's those
yeah.
background effects.
Sailor Junko. Junko Inashima is probably my other favorite from the Danganronpa video game series, and that's an example of like when the distributor kind of changed things. So I'm not in the anime, I'm just in the video game because they did that in a different city. My hands. Ah!
Okay.
It's
Who's
a
next?
wormhole.
Who's
It's
next?
a paradigm shift.
Freshman year of high school, I was in a play of the Tortoise and the Hare, and I played a river rat, and I wore a full black spandex unitard. And for the next 3 years, everyone in my theater department just called me Rat. And that got me a pretty horrible nickname. That was one of my favorites. Other than that, Spider-Man popped up from Final Fantasy 15 in Tuxedo Mask. And one time I played a cartoon duck's uvula hanging ball thing, and the character just screamed, and it was a flash cut to the little character's uvula, and then all I said was, "Follow your heart," and that was it. So I think that was a pretty good part.
Inside it was just as a youth.
Yes, it was somewhere between the river rat and the uvula is where my career lies in terms of favorites.
Oh gosh. Well, I have several, but I do love Annie Leonhardt from Attack on Titan. I love Merlin from Seven Deadly Sins. Sailor Neptune is definitely one of them. And also, I fell in love with the show that I recorded, I think about a year ago now, Beastars. I played Juno in Beastars, and that show is just so beautiful and unique. And Cherami's actually in that with me.
I'm not so nice in that show.
She is so. I was about to say that, but I didn't know how I was gonna say it. But you said it, Cherami.
Yeah.
But you sound so good. You always sound good. But
Thank you. I've lately been only getting cast as the most awful people in the world. It's great.
Well, you know
Finally,
what they say.
typecasting has caught up.
Oh no.
Robbie got to them. He said, "Look, here's
Finally.
who you think she is."
What are you guys doing?
And so that show is pretty awesome because it's I'm not usually interested in CGI animation, but this is so beautiful and fluid, and the story is so sweet and gorgeous, and I feel very lucky to be a part of all of these shows. Which, by the way, I did a panel with Robbie and Sandy. I think, what was it, like a week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, last week.
It was last week. I don't even remember at this point. But someone asked us, "Oh, what are your favorite anime shows?" And at one point, Robbie was like, "Oh, I love Attack on Titan." I'm like, Robbie, I'm in. But there was no time. There was no time for me to say that because I didn't want to be that person. But I'm being that person now. So.
Yeah,
That's okay.
that's a good show. I like it.
It's very good. I love it. But yeah, so.
So I'll pick obscure stuff because it's so hard to pick a favorite anime character. But like jobs that I've worked on that I love, I've worked at Radio Disney since I was 8. And I've gotten to do so many things within the Disney family. And my boss, when I was 8 years old, is still my boss now, which like rarely happens. They taught me so much about radio and voiceover. So I've loved getting to work with Radio Disney. A couple of years ago, I was brainstorming about this idea for a show, and I said I was going to write it, but I never did. And my husband ended up writing it, and then we produced a web series that the fans kickstarted, and that was really cool because I got to bring in a lot of actors that I've worked with in voiceover.
So
and get to work
funny.
with them on camera, which is combining the two things that I love, is doing voiceover and anime together. And then having to pick another one. It's so difficult. But I'll pick a show because this show will never see the light of day. And I remember when I was working on it, I remember thinking this is one of the most special projects. I love working on it. It was a role that I never thought I would get to play. And for whatever reason, it's been shelved, and it's very sad because I was so proud of it and so excited. It felt very cinematic, but it was done in an anime sense. So I'll never get to talk about it. So it will always be that one show that Cherami loves that no one will know about, which is great.
What's it called?
I can't say. I'm still under NDA.
Oh, so it could come to life. It could at some point.
It could maybe, sure.
Yeah. I want to.
And then you got to tell us.
I forgot about.
Like, it will never.
It'll never come to life.
Aww.
Since we're talking like on camera, years ago, I had a little like 3-line role on the Muppet show, Muppets Tonight. And I got to do a scene with Kermit. And growing up, like Disney and Jim Henson were like my heroes. So
sure.
And Jane Goodall, but that was so exciting. And I had to hit Kermit with a makeup powder puff, and they kept telling me, hit him harder. I'm like, no, it's Kermit. But that was really cool. It was called Muppets Tonight. It was like a reboot of the Muppet Show.
Yeah, I remember because that was on the Disney Channel, I believe. I think
this was pre-Disney Channel, so it was probably the reruns probably on.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great.
Okay, next fan question from Rob. If you had to design a drink based on your character in Sailor Moon, what would be in it?
Wow.
Any kind of drink. It doesn't have to be. They specifically asked about hot drinks, but it can be anything.
I went to
hot drinks.
When I was in Japan last year, they did a Sailor Moon live show, which was incredible. And unfortunately, it is one of the things that died. It was a victim of COVID. But it was so amazing. And they had drinks for all of our characters. And so I got the Sailor Venus drink. It was so much food, and it was delicious. But I had like a sugar overload. But of course, Sailor Venus had mango in it. I think there was like some ginger ale. And they did little colored red and orange salt around the rim. It was a non-alcoholic drink, but it was a lot of sugar. And then I had they did, I don't know how they did that, but the ice cubes were the Sailor Venus symbol. So it was such a festive, exciting drink. So that I don't even have to come up with anything. It was already created for me, which is good.
Robbie,
Must be nice, Cherami. Must be nice.
I would do a Chibiusa teeny. And it would probably be a non-alcoholic version. I don't know if you guys remember or watched Mad Men, but there was a drink in the 60s that like my mom and dad used to drink. There was a green one called a grasshopper and a pink one called a pink squirrel. So I would definitely make like a pink squirrel non-alcoholic version moon teeny. Instead of olives, it would have like strawberries and raspberries and
Mm.
and a pink macaroon.
I would do. I went to an Indian restaurant once, and there was a rose milkshake. And I feel like Jupiter's all about pink and like I mean green, but also pink and roses and like nature and flowers, like flower hurricane. Although I think I vaguely remember it tasting like soap, but I think my taste has changed. Now I like rose flavored things, so maybe that was just my gateway drug or something. I'll make it taste like soap.
Into what? Soap drinking?
Yeah,
Wha-
pretty much.
Oh, okay.
How else do you think?
Duh.
Fair enough.
I'd have to keep her out of those bath works specialty stores.
My picture on the wall. Just like, don't let me in here.
I mean, mine would probably, since I really don't drink, so I usually think I would think it would probably be for Neptune. It would be, I keep imagining like a very like sweet and fruity drink, but just the color teal. It's not very original. I'm sorry, but that's what I think at least. Maybe that's just what I'm in the mood for. I have no idea, but but like it is what it is. That's my answer.
I think Tuxedo Mask would need a drink. It would have to be alcoholic. It would need to be a drink that would make sure that you showed up late and left early. So probably like tequila. He'd be that guy. He'd be show up late to the party. Everybody's kind of having a good time. He'd be like, "Here, 3 shots. It's tequila," and he drinks them. And he's like, "I'm out of here." I think that it'd have to be something strong.
Probably.
Useless. Why'd you even show up if you're just gonna drink 3 shots of tequila and leave, Mamoru?
Because he wants to be a meme. My work here is done, and then leave.
Oh.
That explains his wardrobe choices.
Ugh.
That was
Where's
one
the
of my
cab?
favorite things. Was that on a panel where we had to discuss the controversial wardrobe of Tuxedo Mask?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Controversial. What?
We were like,
There were
let's
some-
talk about these khakis.
They were not great looks. I think the workout outfit, super high pleated sweats, cut off t-shirt, but then tight rolled t-shirt under the
And the
t-shirt.
bands, the arm bands.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's very 90s.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me that nobody ever cosplays that look.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only do his day look or tuxedo mask.
Yeah.
If you were 6'2", 140 pounds, you could carry it. Like, I think that's the only way you can do that look. I'm pretty sure. Not for me. Not for me.
All right, question from Tim. Do you have a favorite Sailor Moon episode?
What's your
I
favorite
have
episode?
many.
So many.
I know. True.
Well,
Pick one. No,
okay. The first one, I love all of the big Uranus and Neptune episodes, but I have several favorites. I love the ice skating episode. I love that. That's a really good episode. I also love, and Cherami already knows this, but I love the double date episode.
Yeah.
And
it's one of my favorites. Too.
I was so excited for her to record that episode. I would say, Cherami, you are going to have so much fun with this episode. And I think you almost passed out in the booth. Did you not?
I sure did. Because I said I want to do all of the running montage in one take. And Susie goes, "Why do you do this to yourself?" And I go, "Because I want to see if I can do it." And I did it. But it sounded like Sailor Venus was dying. And she was like, "Honestly, that's perfect." So that's what got put in there. But I remember, Lauren, when we were discussing that episode and you were explaining it, on a panel, and now she doesn't care because it's already out there. I was like, "Oh, my grandmother actually did something like this while she was in high school." I never dated 2 people at the same time. It is very stressful. The idea of it is very stressful for me. But I was talking to my grandmother about it, and my grandmother was, she goes, "Oh, it's like the time that I was in high school and I got invited to the school dance by 4 people, and I said yes to all of them. And then I met your grandma
Grandma.
on the way
Yeah.
out of school, and he he asked me if I wanted to get a Coke, and I went with him, and I didn't go to the dance at all. And I was like, you are a horrible person. Why would you do that?
That's amazing.
But yeah, I loved working on that episode. I love the nurse episode because I'm incapable of cooking as well. So that was a very funny episode. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, the one of the last episodes that we recorded of Classic with Venus doing the idol competition and having to sing and the her dilemma of, do I really go after my dream and my passion because I have this responsibility with these guardians and what I'm supposed to do? I thought that was a really beautiful special episode. So there's the funny and then the heartfelt. Those are some of my faves.
I love well, in Crystal I love I mean my intro episode's pretty cool because I like unleash all my attacks and Luna never has to tell me what to do. I'm just saying, she had to explain to everybody else, like, yell out this Jupiter gravity. She's like, I got this. Boom. But then also in Classic, I mean, like, there's episodes. I love the Uranus and Jupiter episode where Jupiter's like looking up to her and like wants to.
Oh, and she's in the car with them.
Yeah. It's like, so it's just funny. Like in civilian form, there she's like, she's so cool, but then in like battle form, Uranus punches her in the stomach.
Yeah, I know. That's that, man.
So yeah, but then in the Classic, the OG dub, I loved there was a Day of Destiny. Because that music was popping. I still have my my Sailor Moon CDs and my Luna Rock CDs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. The OG dub or whatever that music.
They're out of print.
I had that CD. I totally hear you.
If it's out of print, how much could I get for it?
I don't know. See if you can get Jennifer Seehee to sign it for you first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love how stupid all the Moonlight Night stuff is. Like, I love how stupid it is. And then it reaches peak stupidity on the final episode of that filler arc, where I just my face in the clouds explaining to myself why they did this. And it's literally like, I'm the manifestation of your truth. And it's like, oh, so stupid. But then they knew it was stupid and they were just lean into it. And they buttoned it all up and Moonlight Night disappeared forever. And they said, and now we're back to the real story. That was my favorite episode. It's wild.
What if it actually was like they were trying to do something really deep about like, you know, the way trauma manifests and like brain damage or whatever? Because like, didn't he like lose his memory? Like, what if it was supposed to be something
Again?
Like deeper, like dissociative identity disorder thing? But then they just were like, yeah, no, he looks like he's in bed sheets and he's being vaguely racist.
Yeah. I think
they ran out of source material was the problem.
They put the eye.
Oh, why not both?
Could be both.
I think some of my favorite episodes were, of course, with Pegasus, and even when she first discovers him. I love all of those episodes, and I love my scenes with Hotaru. I mean, I thought their relationship was so sweet. And anytime I got to banter with Sailor Moon, I just like fighting over cookies. Mamoru's gonna love my cookies more than your cookies, and the cookie bake off. I love those scenes. There's just so many, but yeah, I think my scenes with Pegasus I love, and I don't know if it was a movie or an episode with Pearl when she fell in love with that Pearl, and then they abducted all the children on the ship.
That's a movie.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the movies.
That one, oh my god.
That's my favorite movie, actually. So,
yeah. That was really intense.
Excuse me.
Okay. All right. So a little bit on that theme, we have a question from Sailor Mikey. What is your favorite?
Hi, Mikey.
What is your favorite romantic, bromance, and or friendship moment in the series?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I love the I don't remember what we called it in this dub, but I think it's the Makai tree. Is that what we called it? The Makai tree?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I love An and Eru, I love their whole dynamic of them needing to understand what like real love is and what you do when you're in love with someone and all of that. Um I also love how in Crystal how the Sailor Guardians and the the knights all fell in love. I really like that. Made me so
Don't.
mad what happened in Crystal.
Yeah.
I was legit mad. I was so mad.
I'm still heartbroken about
It
it.
was
So like,
way too
let's
quick.
not talk about that.
I know it's a sore subject. Um and I actually do love um Usagi and Mamo's relationship as the series goes on because it grows and they mature together and it's really very very sweet and romantic at times and I love it. I'm a big romantic, so I love it.
I love the cats. I know that everyone's like, Cherami, stop talking about the cats. Honestly,
Jeremy, stop talking about the cats.
Also, I really love the friendship and kind of like Artemis rags on Venus all the time, and he'll talk about how irresponsible she is. And then in that Idol episode where he's like, "No, you can do this." It was like a very, I love I love that bond, and I wish my cats were so nice to me. All they want is food, and to play and have treats, and so I love that. But I also love Luna and Artemis and sweet little Diana.
Yeah.
My favorite's the movie where I have my alien love boy that comes back to find me.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
Robbie.
touching. I really did enjoy that a lot because they developed a really cool backstory with them as kids, and then you come back and you've got elements of unrequited love and confusion for childhood feelings, for adult love, and
Yeah.
then all of those things. I thought it was kind of beautiful and kind of tragic, and I hope we played it as close to the chest as we could for the movie. I think we got there. I really enjoyed watching that as a whole. See, I'm capable of a serious answer.
I'm so proud, Robbie.
Yeah, I got one. I got to go soon, but I got one. And I got one in before the end.
You're told to have to give a serious answer?
Yeah, I'm gonna cut off one of my own toes later.
Oh
Do you
no.
want
I think my favorite scene that I just always remember this. I probably talked about it before, but Chibiusa's in the back seat of the car with Uranus and Neptune, and they kind of hold hands, and she just blushes and giggles. And I just think that just tells so much about why this series is so important, that acceptance and love and kind of model for love for her. So that was one of my favorite scenes.
They're so cool and they love each other so much. I ship them. So
There's an episode in I think Super S. I call it Super S. I don't call it Supers because that's
I call it Super S too. I do.
Me too.
Super sounds
But in the
weird.
Japanese version, they actually do say supers.
Yeah, I know they kept saying like it's not Super S, it's Supers. I'm like that sounds
Yeah.
stupid.
It sounds weirve to someone who speaks English, yes, but that's what they say. I got into an argument one time online with a person, and I'm like, I've watched the Japanese version. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what they said.
Sounds
And
stupid.
look, I think Sailor Moon R. We don't call it Sailor Mooner. Just
I'd watch that.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh no.
But yeah, there's an episode in Super S where Mako is at the dance and she like got all dressed up, and the guys don't want to dance with her because she's too tall. So then Ami goes out on the dance floor and dances with her, and it was really sweet. And then she does get was it Tiger's Eye to dance with her, but he's like a douche, and so like he's like yeah I'll come back to you, and then he doesn't. So she's just sitting outside like in the way like just waiting for like hours.
I remember that too.
And back for her. They're just keeping like we should check on her. We should like it just kind of showed like they're good friends. They're like, hey, like they're sitting with her and she's like, no, I'm good. They're like, I don't think you are though.
Yeah.
So it's just sweet to see them like kind of grouping together.
Oh
Guys,
man.
this was super fun. I have to go away.
Yeah.
I
So
have a thing
a
at 1
couple
o'clock.
of people
I'm
are have
sorry. I
to
think
leave for a
somebody
couple of
else does too,
appointments
right?
they got. So
Excited for the baby coming.
so
to the
final thoughts
world.
from Robbie and
Mwah.
Lauren for
Go
the
ahead,
Hi,
Robbie.
fans.
Lauren.
Oh,
Guys,
sure. Well,
so
I
good
just
to see you.
I love
missed
seeing
your
you
faces.
guys. Yeah, exactly. That's what all I was gonna say. I miss you guys. I miss
We
you
miss you.
lots, and hopefully see you out in the real world, and that includes everybody in the chat once the world rights itself. Can't wait
Yeah.
to see all the
At
Moonies
the
out there, and
next in person Pretty Heroes, Robbie will be there.
well, let's do it.
Yay.
We're gonna be safe. Everything will be fine. I'm not worried. All right, guys. This has been great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. And
All right.
Lauren, take them
Yeah.
away with yours. See you later, guys. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
Robbie.
Um,
Be
thank
well.
you so much for having me, you guys. I miss all of my girls and Guy. You know, I miss all of you guys. I know this year has been really tough. I know it's been very difficult on many different levels, but we will get through it. We will all get through it. And just remember to try and breathe and hang in there. I'm sending you all love, and I really had so much fun, and we'll have to do this again, Emily.
Yeah.
We'll have to do another one.
Mhm.
But Cherami, I love you. Amanda, I love you. Sandy, I love you. Emily, thank you so much for having us. Stay safe, everybody, and yeah, um, yeah, thank you so much. Bye,
Bye,
guys. Love you.
Bye, Lauren.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we still have a little more time
All
uh,
right.
with the three of you. Um, so let's see what other questions we've got here, because chat's been pretty active here.
Mostly just scrolling.
Yeah, there's a lot in here, so I'm like trying to catch up to it. Are you excited for Sailor Moon Eternal? So I'm sure you have all heard that there's the Sailor Moon Eternal movies. So they said they were going to have at least two movies to continue with Sailor Moon Crystal. So are you excited about what's going to happen with your characters in that?
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
excited. I hope we get to do it.
I know.
Yeah. I've been following the artist Marco Albiero on Twitter and Instagram, and he posts a lot of the art. And if you haven't had a chance, check it out because it's so beautiful. It's really, really beautiful.
I'm excited because I mean, again, I'm just gonna get hate for this because I mispronounced it, and now I'm saying it's my least favorite season. But Super S was kind of, it felt like more kiddie. Sorry, Sandy. It felt more kiddie in the original '90s version, but in the manga, it was more like kind of dark and like nightmare-y. And so I'm excited to see Eternal, since it's going to be basically the equivalent of season 4. I'm excited to see it go with the darkness because I feel like Crystal kind of hasn't been as afraid to go into some of the more, I don't want to say adult, but like, I don't know.
That's one of my favorites about us getting to work on both, and like, of course, I want to do, I want to do the movies because I want to complete the story, and I miss Venus, and I would love to go back and voice Venus again. I don't know about you guys, but when I found out that like we were at the end of Classic, it was like while I was in the session, they're like, "Well, that wraps it up for you," and it just like I couldn't prepare. And it's the best way that I can describe. Every time I finish a project, and I don't know if you guys are this way as well, you fall in love with these characters even if you have them for 4 hours or 2 hours or years. And it's gone. Like, working with that team is gone, working with that cast is gone, and it seems silly, but I have to like grieve the loss of getting to live in that world. And so I don't feel like I really adequately got to grieve the loss of finishing Sailor Moon. So I would like to go back and get to finish that with Crystal, and like know that that's kind of the end. But that's one of the things I've loved about getting to work on the classic '90s and Crystal, is getting to I mean, it's such a rare opportunity to get to play more of a real, raw, cinematic, darker version, and then a more comedic, fun. We never would get the opportunity to make two choices for the exact same situation. It's a wonderful experience as an actor and getting to see how this character and these characters would respond to the same situations with different tonality shifts. So man, I would love to get to go back and do that, because I don't know how with Susie, the director, she would tell me, she's like, okay, this is the big girl version of Sailor Moon. Like it gets real quick, and you go, this is very sad. So,
especially for your character, Cherami. I think
Yeah.
you were one of the characters that dramatically, had a big change. I think my character is pretty similar in both. Like it wasn't as I mean, it was a little more, film style,
Yeah.
Crystal, and condensed, but my character didn't have dramatic, tonal changes like yours did.
maybe they'll let you get to do more of your evil black lady that came out in the audition. They'll be like, okay, Sandy, now we want that black lady.
Does Black Lady make an appearance though?
I don't think she does, but maybe they'll add something. Wouldn't
Yeah.
it be great?
I don't know. Yeah. It's so interesting because my take on Black Lady is it's like if you study evil characters, in stories and archetypal stories, they all come from a wounded place. And I really felt like Wiseman was playing to her wounds and see, they don't really love you. And it was just like her dark side, like the shadow side, the shadow self, which they talk, Jungian and all that, psychology. But I really feel like, that was part of her wounded place that was, taking over at that time. So
I don't know if we've talked about this, Sandy, but it absolutely what you said. It reminds me, I either had an acting teacher or I read a book where they were saying that every actor's objective or choices all come down to love, either the absence of love or their need to give love. And so when they'll say, if an actor says like, how do I approach this character? They're like, you got to come at it from a place of love. Either you want it or you want to give it to someone else, which I think is a perfect example of all of our characters in the show, and specifically the difference between Chibi and Black Lady. That's, I think, a perfect way to explain it.
yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Okay. We got very serious all of a sudden.
Robbie's fun. Robbie's like the level.
Yeah.
Gotta step up.
But Emily, it's so interesting because I listened to a little bit of the Canadian cast yesterday in your interview, and they did speak to the how advanced this show was ahead of its time and the consciousness of it. And a lot of stories like Star Wars, for example, the original Star Wars carried those, primal soul messages and that were woven through the stories. And I think these were tapped into as well with Sailor Moon, and that's why it's so universal. It speaks to everyone on a much deeper level than just a surface level.
Yeah. I agree. All right. So let's move on to a fun question from Martin. Which of you already have a Sailor Moon merchandise collection, and what do you collect?
I do.
Yeah, Jeremy collects a lot of things.
I think I would think that most people know, like, I love collecting things. I have a China cabinet here that is for China, and I have filled it with all of my anime, or at least some of my anime things. I have keychains, I have plushies, I have figures,
ungodly
I have
plushie.
jewelry.
Like, she doesn't just have Sailor Moon plushies. She has like plushies of like cake, like literally anything that there's a plushie, she has it.
Yeah. So one thing that I love is the blind boxes, and they made Sailor Moon like birthday blind boxes where each of them had like a little cake, and each of the characters had their own blind box. And then they did another one where it was holidays for all the figures. I have that. Amanda's also seen my extensive, not necessarily Sailor Moon related, but food that has faces. I have an extensive collection of that. And I also have the squishies that are scented. I have those as well. Amanda has also witnessed that ridiculous obsession. So yes, I have a lot of Sailor Moon merchandise, and I do not discriminate The cuter, the better. That's probably like my. Is it adorable? Cherami must have it. If it's like millions of dollars, Cherami cannot afford to have it. So that's my benchmark, I guess.
Just like that, it's adorable at first. Be like, oh, it has a face, but it actually could also like. It could also be like a serial killer streak. Like maybe it actually is something worse where you're like, no, I want my my food to have a face. I
Well,
want.
yeah, I think
No.
it's probably on some level of like a disordered eating pattern. It's like I want all of the foods that are adorable, so I won't eat them because they have a face, and then I can have them around and then not eat them. So it's like I'm surrounding myself
Like
with cupcakes and donuts, but you know.
This beignet has a mom. I can't.
Yeah.
I have Funko Pops of my characters. I have some beautiful handmade, like stuffed, not really, they're like felt stuffed, Chibimoons from fans, but not a whole lot. I'm pretty selective. I like to get, if it's like a big character that I've played, I like to get like a figurine. And I have one of, I think it was made by Bluefin, but one of those beautiful music boxes with a light that comes out. Yeah, I love that. But I'm not a huge collector of pieces, but I do have a few.
Yeah, I'm not a collector either. I actually kind of hate junk stuff. Not junk, but like, because I'm so messy that like any extra thing I go, where do I put it? And if I don't have a place to put it, it ends up like it just. I have so much clutter. Like I'm in the middle of a move right now, and I just want to rip my hair out because it's like the big stuff where you're like books, movies, clothes, like those go in boxes easily. But then you look around your room and you're just like, there's so many like little miscellaneous things. So, but I am moving into a bigger place. So hopefully now that I'll have like an extra room, I think I might be more like, yeah, I'll get like, I can put them on a wall somewhere. Like then I think I might actually like the idea of having figurines or like that music box sounds really cool. I used to love music boxes when I was younger and snow globes.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could see myself now that I have space, maybe collecting those because I'd have a place to put them. But yeah, like my car is ridiculous. Anybody who gets in my car, it's just like up to the passenger seat, full of like papers and plastic stuff and just like anything that I don't know. It's a problem.
I think it's also like being an actor because I would always say my car is my office, so there was like extra clothes back there and headshots and scripts and water. You always had to be prepared for everything, so people get in, they're like, do you live here? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in my car all day, every day. So it's kind of not the case now, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a lot of food in my car though, like stuff where like it falls between the seats and I just never get it. So like it's a problem. I think I had like cheese curds fall down there once, and it's it hasn't been a problem because it's like fall/winter, so it's not as hot. But I'm sure if it hasn't mummified by the summer,
would be gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do collect a lot of fan art, and I love one of my favorite things when going to a con was going to Artist Alley and meeting new artists. I love original art. I just love it.
And I've when fans are so generous and they'll draw things for us and give it to us at a signing or give it to us at a panel, I have all of it. I don't think that I've lost any fan art, and we were organizing the garage and I got all these bins, and it was fun to get to go through and like see how talented everybody is and all the things that they have created and related to the show with. That the art is, it's some of my favorite.
Cool. All right. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a challenging one now. Which character have you played in your career that is the most like your own personality?
Tough one. What's interesting is I will come into a part and I'll be going through scenes and I'll go, oh my gosh, it's like the universe chose this part for me. Like even with, Chibiusa, there were certain scenes where she was left on her own that were very reminiscent of my childhood or that I could so relate to. Like I just feel like that was one of them. But there's and she's on a mission to help save her mother or whatever, but I really connect with certain parts in the stories that I feel like, oh my gosh, like the universe, how did we get put together, that I can actually know what this felt like to be in this situation. So it wasn't, it was something I could just recall. But I don't know. I kind of see myself as a thread through, all the little characters you get cast at. There's always something in there. There's always something in there that kind of you gives a nod to, like, oh yeah, little wink. But yeah, I would definitely say Betty Boop for sure. Yeah, and yeah, a lot of them through the years.
It's so hard because like Sandy said, there are certain characters that I'll get cast as and go, this is nothing like me. This is a fun challenge. And then as we work on it, I realize, wow, I am more like this character than I thought. And they must have sensed something about like my essence or how I approach the character that were similar. And I love those characters because as I'm driving home from a session, I will start thinking about, well, what is it about me as Cherami in my life that either I'm afraid of this, that I don't want to express it, or what block do I have, or why don't I want to embrace this, or do I judge this type of character that I see in other people, and why is that? Because now when I'm in it, I see how alike we are. There was a role that I auditioned for an episode of Bones, and I had a horrible day getting to the audition. I was like an hour late. I got onto the lot. I was running to the audition. I tripped and fell. I was bleeding. It was awful. And when I read the script, normally I can feel some sort of emotional response, and I didn't get that from the character. So I thought, like, well, there's no way I'm going to get this role. But of course, I would just like to impress them in the audition, and maybe they'll have me in mind for something else. So I went in, did the audition. It's been out for a while. I'm sure most people have seen it. My character was accused of murdering someone. You would think that a person would cry. And I couldn't cry. I was so frustrated from the day, and I had a terrible audition. And I was so mad at myself. And I remember getting on a plane. I had to fly back to Texas, and my agent called and was like, you booked Bones. And I remember getting the voicemail going, there must be a mistake. I had the worst audition ever. I could not do the job requirement. I played the character completely like I wasn't supposed to. What am I going to do? And I got to set, and the director said, the character is a perfectionist, and she hates all of this. She has this, turmoil inside of her of needing to be perfect and feeling like she's letting people down. And you just walked in, and this turmoil about you was present, and everybody else was trying, and you just were. And I am a major perfectionist, and that's a big stressor for me, and a lesson that I'm trying to learn in my life. And so as I'm going through this character, saying I don't connect with her at all, it's because it's a part of myself that I'm always hesitant to acknowledge, because it's not pretty, and it's not nice, and it's not positive. And that's why I got the character, to acknowledge that part of myself, to kind of heal it, which is what's amazing about the job that we get to do, is we get chosen for these characters at times in our lives when we've got to work on this stuff. And it's these characters become like little guardian angels on our journey to help us through. And we might not get cast as these characters if they showed up at another time in our lives when we had already healed that trauma or that aspect in ourselves. So it's amazing how it all works out the way it does.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, because I was thinking there's characters that I think were more like who I was, or who I like at the time. I was like, oh, Sully from Fire Emblem was a character that I felt like I was very much like, because she's very guarded, and she's like, I'm gonna kick you in the face, leave me alone. Like she was kind of sarcastic, and like nothing could get to her, and she was called the woman to end all men or something like that. But then like when during the love confession scene, she's like, okay, like, and I think that was like kind of how I presented for a lot of my 20s and 30s, and I always had a hard time playing characters that were vulnerable, characters that I deemed were weak or victims in some way. And then I kind of, I've done a lot of therapy, and I did like a treatment center this year because I like being open about mental health stuff. I think it's important. So like I did like a PTSD treatment program. And like after that, I realized how much I resented those characters was because I had resented that part of myself. So I'm curious now that I've kind of, I mean, clearly it takes a whole, it's 33 years worth of stuff. It's going to take a while to like get comfortable with it. But I think that'll be an interesting challenge. Like I think Mako has a lot of those characteristics that not that I had resented, but just I didn't relate to necessarily. Like she's so much more optimistic than I am. She sees the best in people. She wants to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I tend to be a cynic, So I think it'll be interesting to see how much more I move towards like a Mako, where she's like, I believe in my friends, I believe in love and justice, and no matter how many times she's let down, she still believes in love, and she's like, I will find him. Like she's her heart is always open, no matter how often somebody just like punches her in it. She's like, you know what, that hurt, but all right, open back up. And I think that actually, to me, is stronger than the characters I used to think were strong, because they were really just guarded, like strength.
It's so interesting though that you don't see that in yourself, but as you're describing her, I'm like, that's totally Amanda. Like that's totally Amanda.
Like
but I think that's interesting is we don't always see the same things in ourselves.
Yeah.
To be fair though, like Cherami's seen it. I give up very quickly. Like when she's like, she texted me, she's like, I'm gonna be late for a flight. She's like, do you think I'll make it? I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm like, no.
I said I'm pulling up to the airport. I'm gonna be fine, don't you think? And I'm somebody that like I'm gonna be optimistic, but I just need like a little shred of reassurance. And Amanda texted me back. She goes, honey, there's no way you're making this flight. They're closing the doors. And I was like, so I'm racing onto the flight, like carrying my suitcase. And I get on Amanda. I see her at like the seat, and she looks up and she goes, no way. She goes, honestly, I had no faith in you. I had no faith you were gonna be here.
I told the flight attendant, I was like, this chick's not gonna make it. So
just take off.
No, I mean, it wasn't that I was like, leave her, but like LAX is a crazy
leave her. She's running. Just leave her.
I'm just saying, if you've ever been to LAX, she said she was pulling up, and I was like, dude, the doors are closing in like 10 minutes. You're not gonna get through.
Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna make it either, but I'm one of those people that like there's always a little cloud that is looming that's like, don't Cherami, just don't get too excited because it's all gonna come crashing down. And then there's one little side over here that's like, it's gonna be fine. You be quiet. She's stressed. Like it's gonna be okay. That is
on your shoulder.
That is the like I was talking to someone. I was talking about a couple things. I was like, yeah, I was drinking out of a cup that said like the worst place to be in the world, and then I was wearing a T-shirt that said the happiest place on earth, and I was like, this is the perfect dichotomy for me as a whole. Like it's just a constant warring of like darkness and light 24/7.
Now I feel bad. I was like feeding that side.
It's fine. I needed to prove to myself I could do it, Amanda. You were helping me get over a hurdle.
Be more realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
So, since we're heading towards the last 10 minutes right now, I'd like to get from you guys to let everybody know what you're up to lately, and if there's any upcoming projects that fans can see or hear you in.
I mean, I did have two just come out. I had one, like I was in an episode of Thundercats Roar where I played the Queen of the Rats and Barbara Stella's ex-girlfriend. So she's a fun character. And then I was also in Fallout 76 as Sheena, I believe. And I have a show that's coming out, but I don't know when, and I can't say. But like, it's gonna be on Netflix, I believe, in like February or January, and that one's really, really fun. I've been working on that for a couple of years now, so I'm excited to finally, hopefully, have it come out. But yeah.
Okay, so we will wait to see the announcement from you.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Yeah, I would. I think it. Well, there's some we can't talk about, but if you play the Grand Blue Fantasy game, I think it just got nominated for the Game Awards. But I play Vern the Little Dragon, so that's just a really fun game, and the animation is beautiful. So I really enjoyed recording that. And I would just say follow me at Sandy Fox World on Twitter and Instagram to find out, what's next, what I'm up to.
Mm-hmm. And Cherami?
I came out a little bit earlier in the year, but because obviously we've been in quarantine or some form of it, I haven't really gotten to talk about it too much. But I got to work on the new Pokemon Journeys series, and I get to voice Chloe, which has been very fun. And I also got to work on a show called BNA, and I got to play this adorable little creature, and the animation is beautiful, and it's bright and colorful. It's Studio Trigger, so obviously very colorful, which has been very fun. That's on Netflix also. I've been doing a lot of live action dubs for various shows, which I think is very fun. So there's a couple of those shows on Netflix, Undercover, The Gift, a few of those projects. And then there is a project that I've been working on for a couple years, and I'll be able to talk about it in clearly I'm counting down the days in 10-ish or more days. But I can't talk about it until then, and it's been really hard to keep it a secret, so I'm very excited.
I saw an ad for that the other day.
Do what?
I think I saw an ad for it the other day, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say anything.
Yeah, I don't know anything about anything. Which is what I've been saying all year, and I'm afraid
we'll watch your
that
social
people either
channels
think
for
that
official
I, A,
announcements.
don't care and I don't want to talk about it, or B, that they're like, oh, Cherami, the director of the project messaged me, and he was like, people are probably like, oh, Cherami's like, I work on so many things, I have no idea what I'm in. I'm like, no, I just am afraid that somebody will attack me and rip it away. So I've been trying to stay super, super quiet about it. But I'm excited. I'm going to try to do more signings and autographs and videos and things like that. I haven't really been doing it much this year because I love the interaction at conventions, and I haven't been able to figure out how to do that balance in a way that I still get to have that connection with people. But I've had enough people say please just do this. So I'm trying to get that all up and running and figure out ways. So I'll update people on Twitter at Cherami Leigh, or on Instagram at CLKstar, or on my website, CheramiLeigh.com.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to mention also, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Amanda Celine Miller. Celine, like Celine Dion, Celine, my middle name. Yeah, I know. People are SELEN, so I have to.
Oh, I could see
It's
that.
French.
But also, I like of the NDA police. Cherami's I'm worried somebody's gonna attack me.
Yeah, I don't know where I have this overactive imagination that I am convinced that there's somebody, as soon as we get cast in a project, that we all get a sign, an invisible guardian who just stands here and is don't you dare talk about it. We will kidnap you. We will throw you in NDA prison. I don't know what it is, but I live in a perpetual state of fear, and then magnify that with the current state of the world. It is just not a fun place to be. So I'm people go, it's fine. I think you can talk about it. Most people know. I'm I can't. I asked and they said no, and I will not ask again.
Yeah.
Well, when it's officially announced, then it's fair game. That's how I look at it.
I always feel like it's safer to wait. I wait till I see an ad for it, then I go, oh, hey, I was in this,
When I worked on World of Warcraft earlier in the year, and it took 10 people messaging me being hey, is this you? Can you talk about this? Hey, is this you? And I was okay, I think I can talk about it. I think it's fine. So I wait till someone else on the internet is hey, I think you're in this and you're allowed to talk about it. I'm thank you so much. You're right, I can. Yay!
Just need a little bit of encouragement. Like the guardian cats.
Yeah.
I need my little Artemis.
And just before we close off, I would love for you to share where everybody can get autographs and prints and anything else that you guys have available, if they're on your websites or wherever.
Yeah, mine are on my website at sandyfox.com. And also, I do Streamily. I just did a GalaxyCon live. So I do the virtual signings, and I found them to be awesome. You get to spend one-on-one time with the fans and do chats and things. So it has been really nice to connect that way since we haven't been doing cons. But you can find all my autographs on sandyfox.com.
Yeah, for me, I just opened a Streamily store. So it's open, should be open all the time, so you can buy, character prints, and sometimes I have Funkos, but they're becoming elusive, so I may not have them in stock all the time. But it'll be streamily.com/Amanda Miller. And I was actually just thinking, Sailor Jupiter's birthday is coming up on December 5th, so I might try to do some sort of like signing for that, because that's also Sully from Fire Emblem's birthday, so maybe I should do like a happy birthday signing or something. So look out for that. But you can buy stuff at any time. It's just that, and like I'll sign it kind of whenever. But it's sometimes nice to do like a event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple posters up at cheramileigh.com, and I'll be adding new ones like when I can talk about this one project. And then I've got some other commissions that'll be getting done, so I'll be adding that stuff, and I'll try to add some pops if people want that. And then I'm in the works for doing some other things for like videos or voice memos or things like that, but I'll let everybody know when that's available on the website.
Okay,
Cool.
that's great.
Yay.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank
thank you to
you.
everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching who interacted with us. I do want to remind everybody to also think of charity at this time. We have a couple of links on the Pretty Heroes website for donating to Sistering, which helps at-risk women locally here in Toronto. And they also help trans individuals as well. And we also have a link for Moontime Sisters, who helps get menstrual hygiene products to women up north who aren't able to get them affordably. And you can also pick, of course, your charity of choice. And we also have new items in our online store. So I just added these last night. We have our coasters. They are real.
I still have
Ooh,
those. I have those in my living room.
How cute!
so
It's very
pretty.
hard for me to figure out where the camera is. So we have those added to our store, and we also have lots of t-shirts.
Oh,
So
the t-shirts are the best.
yes, so we
With
are
the
bringing this
foil.
back. I am going to be adding this to the store later tonight. So this is the 25th anniversary shirt that I designed.
Oh, gorgeous.
And then on the
That's
back,
beautiful.
you get,
Oh, I
right?
love it. Yay.
Or you can just get, the Fighting Evil by Moonlight by itself.
Cool.
Those shirts are amazing.
He
So this
designed
is
all of them
another.
too. She's great. Oh, that's nice. I like the
So
blue.
pretty.
And then this
Cool.
is another one.
Oh, cool.
Find the
Hey.
Magic.
Oh, I like that.
And of course, if you want the one like me, Every Girl Can Be a Hero.
That's cool.
That's so cute.
And then this was our design from last year. So it's the Sailor Moon and Captain
Ooh.
Marvel.
Oh,
That's
wow.
And
awesome.
all of our t-shirts are made by Chop Shop Goods, which is a local t-shirt company here in Mississauga. They're next to Toronto. And we can ship them. So if you do want to have them shipped, you can do that. And yes, we can ship outside of Canada as well. That's totally fine. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope you had a really great time joining us. I will try to do another stream later on today with just me, and I'll show you me adding shirts to the shop. And thank you so much.
Awesome.
Everyone
you
can
so
be a
much for
hero.
Thank you for all you're doing to keep the Sailor Moon fans happy and providing content like this. It's just such a gift at this time. So thank you so much, Emily.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I cannot thank you enough. I mean, this has been so lovely for me to get to see everybody
Yeah.
and to get to interact with the fans. So this was very, very special for me. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. And thanks, Amanda, for letting me know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is really cool. Like I mean, it's kind of selfish too because we get to like see our friends and stuff, but it's also just fun to be connected. Like even if we can't see each other, you can feel the energy. Like it's just nice to have that in a year of kind of feeling disconnected, you know? So
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm
Thank
going to
you.
end the stream now. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe at home, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.